Yes, 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 yes. We're here. We're here. We're here. We are always here with you, the vehicle, and with you who are listening. As we are merely an extension of yourselves, you cannot truly sever yourselves from us. You can, however, ignore and distract yourselves and doubt ourselves as a fanciful, imaginary, illusionary fraction of your imagination. And we say, it is fine to have invisible friends. uh, you may have heard a saying, which was, if you are caught talking to yourself, you must be mad. We know the vehicle's grandmother used to say this all the time, as this was something she was challenging the young version of the vehicle to speak her truth and speak her words and to speak up for herself. And so the vehicle would say something in an attempt to stand ground. And when questioned simply, what did you say? The response immediately from the little vehicle, the little girl of Joanne, was a muttering of, nothing, I was talking to myself. And this encouraged the grandmother to challenge her to speak up. She did not come from a threatening way or manner, because she could see that the young girl was very timid with speaking. And she could see the difference between the confidence of what the girl was passionate about and what she could talk about at length versus being able to talk about her feelings and her thoughts. And there is a difference between being passionate about a hobby, a recipe to cook together, or a school activity versus sharing the thoughts and feelings being a younger person and being labeled as, in jest, speaking to yourself, being mad. This is part of another way she was being pushed and challenged to prove that she wasn't mad and prove that she could communicate with others who were not judging her, but were keeping her in a safe environment to be able to be independently creative with her art and with her expression of sharing. Because the siblings were not all kept together when they were having grandmother time, this was a more one-on-one safe environment for the child to be able to speak and share. And so we brought this up to remind you all that you have had many, 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 many opportunities to be supported in speaking your emotional truth. And when you're afraid to share what you're thinking and feeling to others, in case you are ridiculed, this is part of the empowerment that those soul families and those physical human families were trying to encourage you to step up with. And so recall how you used to be when you're unsure if you're allowed to have certain feelings. Then you are unsure you can share those certain feelings in words to express to others. And it can be quite challenging for children to want to express how they feel about certain people if those people who are behaving and reacting and interacting with those children are not of empowerment. And so how can a child say that they feel unsafe, unheard, unloved, unvalued, unsupported, unprotected, unnurtured, unwanted? How does a child express that to the adult that is projecting that And while it may be insecurities, misconstrued, limited perspectives of the actual interaction, all lessons and experiences in your childhood is truly to push and nurture you and encourage you to be more self-empowered, self-confident, and to know and to learn single-handedly what you liked and the treatment you liked from others and the treatment you didn't like from others. And that was to gauge your moral compass and engineer how you were to move forward as adults. And we see that many can be so traumatized by the childhood experience that they repeat it in a different form, a different version, but it's still the same impactful emotional impact of others to others. And so that broken child may have had one experience, and that broken child within the adult bodysuit may be still reacting in hurt and responding even to their own children in various which ways. It is important to notice the the reactions and each word, each sentence, each communication, each conversation creates a range of emotions. And while there is one expression, how does that expression get delivered? And the vehicle is questioning the significance of this to her own personal life. And we are saying to her, to reassure her, that this is fine. She is not repeating the cycles that she experienced herself, but we are not talking about her and her situation. We are merely sharing to those who are listening how they can recreate patterns of issues in their current day because they're still holding onto unresolved hurt. And so while they feel like, for example, they're not beating their children like they were beaten up by their parents, they're still so hurt from being that abused child. They're not seeing how just because there is no physical abuse, there is a verbal neglect and abuse still that could occur. And so it is about doing as much of your inner work as possible to heal yourself, so then you are not projecting being a hurt person who hurts people, including your own children. And we are speaking to many of you who are listening about this, because while you are not exactly carbon copies of your parents, it is because of your actions. We are saying it doesn't matter. The actions, the emotions are still a byproduct of the reactions to each other, which even could be non-physical, but verbal. And we are saying that the impact to a child can be, we are saying, question, do you really feel that beating a child, how that child would feel versus aggressive energy, shutting down emotional energy and distracting yourselves from the actual child itself? Could you, well, there is a difference in the interactions with the child and the parent. The child will still feel a whole range of emotions that are not not an example of how to empower themselves. Actually, it is an example of how to empower themselves, but the byproduct of a parent, whether it is physical abuse or emotional neglect, can be the same emotions that that child feels, but always the lessons for that child is to empower themselves. So what are you teaching your child? What are you expressing and showing your children? And for those people who are still struggling with their physical abuse as a child and now are parents themselves, They feel like they're not as bad as their parents because they're not doing exactly the same as their parents did to them. However, when you're so focused on the pain and the hurt and the trauma that you're carrying, you may not realize how you being distracted with your own inner work is distracting you from empowering and loving your child and encouraging your child to be able to speak their emotions, speak their truth, speak their feelings, because they're afraid of the reactions that their parents will get. We want to break down again the experience and the purposes of being here on earth. It is about exploring the range of emotions, the full range of emotions. And you can feel hurt by either a physical attack or a verbal attack, or even a verbal disconnect and silence. And so it doesn't matter what the trigger was to feel that feeling, the feelings are still going to be felt regardless of what you do. There is much to be said here, and we are focusing on just a few who are listening to this to be able to make them realize that their disconnect of their children, disconnect of their friends, and disconnect of their family is because they are still vulnerable and raw, because even though they are adults now and have their own children, there is still the inner child who is abused, isolated, alone, and a true victim still within the adult that has not been recognized, loved, healed, and nurtured. And as adults, you can go and love and heal and nurture the smaller versions of self, your inner child. You must be able to, in a safe way, respect that you were that victim through that childhood abuse. And while it may not have been a safe way for you to have been able to express the feelings and thoughts that you did at that time of those years of the abuse, you are safe to do it now as an adult. This is your inner work. You are allowed to feel the victim that you were as a child and heal from it, acknowledge it, go back within yourself to know that that child survived. That child now learns and now learned how to behave as an adult and how to love and nurture children correctly with full intention, full integrity, and full consideration of those child's range of feelings. And knowing and respecting that physical abuse and even emotional disconnect could still have the same range of emotions for that child. It is about being responsible for all behaviors, all reactions. And this is part of your learning. And this is part of their learning. And all is well. And there is no judgment. There is no good or bad. It is all experiences. And so when your children are confronting you, to be able to let your guard down, to be able to completely love and accept and tolerate and have patience and deep compassion and deep empathy for your children, for your pets, for your neighbors, for your friends, for everyone. For you must be able to love all. You must be able to respect all and see where all are at. And even those who are in fear, even those who are super focused, hyper fixated on the fear, on the disempowerment of humanity, of those who are convinced that everything is to get them, and they're using their free will to disarm themselves and weaken themselves because they will not and they cannot see how powerful they are. They believe that they are just basic humans, and they don't have any understanding or capacity to see the profound power of their souls and to understand and even have faith and trust of the power of their own minds. And so they give up. They feel that they will have all the negative things happen to them, and they have the worries and the weight of the world and everyone else's worries and weight of the world, and they are quite convinced that this is prison, this is hell, this is torture, this is worthless, this is nothing they would have ever wanted to be a part of. And yet we say, all of you, All of you knew exactly what you were signing up for to be of service in this lifetime. It is not an accident you are here. It's not a mistake that you are here. You're all very important and very valuable. To be able to empower yourselves, keep your frequency vibrations as high as possible, to love and nurture self completely and fully, including your past, including all of the challenges that you've experienced that you didn't even like. You still can't even understand the significance and purpose of why you must have gone through that, why you had to go through that, and why was that even part of your history. When you accept and experience it and heal and recognize the emotions that you felt during that time, to be able to verbalize and express and understand for yourself how you felt, why you were reacting that way, why others were reacting that way, what was going on. And when you realize that there is no villains, and when you realize there's no heroes, you'll be able to put everything into a great perspective, to be able to give you inner peace and to be able to see the role you're playing in this play of life. And this is a significant time for you to be able to get up to date with what you're in and why you're here. And we say that some of you have done this and you have found that it is embarrassing for you to realize how significant you are, how important you are, how worthwhile you are, how loved and adored you are. And that almost feels so embarrassing that you feel shamed. You feel ashamed. You feel ashamed. How possibly could it be that you were so special? You were so needed. And we say this is still your baby steps to remember everybody has the same special, unique purpose of being here now. And while you're not all meant to have the same exact skill sets and be the same exact strengths and passions as each other, you are all meant to be individual as well as still super significant and purposeful and important, not just to the people that are around you, but to all. And so when you remember everyone is purposeful here, everyone has their own significance. And you may see from time to time someone completely beginning. And all you need to do, instead of getting frustrated with where they're at, is remind yourself how you felt when suddenly you realized that you knew virtually not much. And you were starting to awaken up to the reality of what this game of life is all about and how this game of life is played out. Remember the big journey you've got to be here now. Remember how fast you grew. Remember how much you have grown to empower yourselves truly and completely in all sincerity. And you know this was a gigantic journey for you. And be proud of that. But also give others the benefit of the doubt that they are also able to achieve what you have. And when you can simply remember when you were full of fear yourself, full of worry, and didn't feel like you had much answers or solutions or even a pathway forward to be able to help you, have compassion for those who are still convinced of many of the disinformation agendas out there to keep them low vibrational. Please encourage them to look at high vibrational perspectives. Please encourage them to be able to honor and love themselves. And please encourage them to remind them that they wanted to be here because they are such advanced souls. They knew they could help. And you're all helping when you do that. And we say with much love and appreciation, thank you for those who are responsible and noticing all of their agendas and all of their purposes for what they do. And being mindful and considerate of what you do and how that does impact others. And while you're not responsible for other people's feelings and emotions, you must be considerate and mindful of how it would feel. Remember, you have all been at that stage of the early awakening when you're just starting to question concepts such as reincarnation, question concepts such as the shift to a new planet, conscious concepts of what an evolved human form would be. These are such advanced concepts that really can distract many if they have not done enough of their own earth experiences and the lessons that they needed to provide to be able to empower themselves through some of their basic range of emotions that they're still holding on to that doesn't serve them. And so all is well. And we are guiding and supporting you as much as we are guiding and supporting them. And so remember that we're always here. We're always here within you, around you, and we're constantly sending you messages of love and support. And we always want you to know that all is well, because possibly there is no other option. There is no other option, but all is well, because all is well. While you may feel like there is moments where it can't quite be all is well, this must be a mistake. We are saying you're going through the experience, and until you have completed that experience, which is mastering the understanding of the lesson of that experience, then you will too reflect back at that experience and know within yourself and see within yourself for yourself all is well. And we say this with much love and appreciation for all that you do.